Hello, my name is Owen Felix O'Neill, and today I want to talk about William Tyndale's 1534, which is the original. But I'm just going to put it aside for a minute because I've done a mock-up or reproduction of the Tyndale that I intend to publish very shortly, and just to give an idea to how it would look, etc., etc. So that's kind of important. But my subject really today is really about the 1526, which is this one here. This was beautifully published by the British Library. And there are different editions you can get online or different shops and whatever. And that's quite good. I'm not criticizing it. It's a wonderful production and a wonderful book. But this one was published by William Tyndale in 1526. And it was done on vellum, and it's in colour. Now, the main difference between the 1526, which is this one here, and the 1534, which is this one here, are a number of things. One is, in the 1526, there were no prologues. Now, the prologues are very important, which I'll get to that in a minute, but just let me tell you something else it's missing. It's also missing the wonderful illustrations by Dürer, the great German artist. And if I can show you for a moment the difference, there were 22 illustrations that Dürer had done for the 1534 New Testament by William Tyndale. They're non-existent in the 1526. But the bigger problem are the prologues. The prologues themselves do not exist and were not translated for whatever reason that's debatable academically, but they don't exist in the 1526. Now, the prologues are important to the Gospels because the prologues paint the big picture of who Jesus was, what his ministry was about. It introduces the witnesses to the stories in the Gospels, authentically talk about Jesus, his divinity, his messages. And so they're very important, but not to exist in the 26 is to me a bad omission. It's like, I suppose, buying a car without its brakes. Well, I wouldn't buy a car without its brakes. If there were no brakes in it, I'd have a problem. I'd want to buy a car with brakes. But when Tyndale republished the 34, he wanted to correct a number of things. One is at the beginning of the book, and this is the 34 copy that I've made, and it would look like this, which is stunning. Not necessarily this binding, this is one of my own bindings, which I'm proud of. But he wrote an intimate letter to the reader, which starts off the introduction to the New Testament. He then included the prologues of John, Luke, and the others. And they're very important, there are 18 prologues. In addition to that, he then inserted into Revelations, he inserted the illustrations. And the illustrations are very important because they continue the story and they highlight the story to what's happening. It's like a early picture depicting what happened, what's going on in a particular scene. The prologues are the same. The prologues are very important because they established who Jesus was, what his ministry is about, and that's why they're important. Now, I notice in the King James, which I have here, 1611, but this is a later one, 1750, this one here, there are no prologues in them either. I notice that many Bibles don't have the prologues, but I think prologues are important. And I think they're important for the simple reason is they introduce the New Testament, they introduce the Gospels. They're vital to the story because they give a better picture of who Jesus was, the eyewitnesses to certain events, and that's why they're important. As I said about a car, I would not buy a car without brakes. I'd want the brakes in the car. And that's the difference. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for the supporters, etc., etc. Just one other thing I want to talk about. People have commented, rightly or wrongly, about the fact that I handle rare books. Well, as you can see, I've got a lot in my library, go back almost to the 7th century. It's not required to wear gloves. In fact, wearing gloves handling rare books is more damaging to rare books than people realize, because the dirt and filth gets onto the paper. If you use with the cloth, the white gloves that you see people wearing, they're very damaging to paper. The paper they made in the 16th century is very durable. It's best handling it with your hands. That's only a point I wanted to raise, because many people ask me this, and I wanted just clarity in this to clarify it for them. So again, thank you very much for your time, and welcome to my home and welcome to my library. We look forward to speaking in the future. Good evening, and thank you very much.